Welcome to the PCOS Lab. I'm Dr. Angela Potter. If you're tired of Band-Aid solutions and being told your labs are fine when you don't feel fine, you're in the right place. We use clinical engineering to move your body out of survival mode and into the biological safety required for motherhood. Let's get to work on your breakthrough. Imagine trying to have a life-altering conversation over a phone line that is 90% static. No matter how important the message is, the person on the other end can't hear a single word you're saying. In the world of PCOS fertility, your brain is constantly trying to send a green light signal to your ovaries. But if your system is saturated with metabolic waste, synthetic residue from years of birth control, or systemic inflammation that has gone completely unnoticed, that is the static. And that signal, it never arrives. So this isn't a failure of your ovaries. It's a failure of your internal infrastructure. If you've been told that your labs are normal, but you still aren't ovulating, you don't have a hormone problem. You have a signaling problem. Welcome to the PCOS Lab. I'm Dr. Angela Potter, and in today's episode, today we are talking about why trying harder to balance your hormones is a clinical impossibility if you haven't first cleared the biological noise that is currently drowning them out through static. So inside my clinical blueprint, I don't start you with a list of generic supplements, and I certainly don't start by forcing ovulation with medication. I start with cellular clearance. So think of your body like a high-end architectural site. You cannot pour a stable, fertile foundation if that ground is covered in debris. Most conventional PCOS treatments, they try to build the house while the site is still a mess. They throw letrozole or metformin at a system that is currently in a state of metabolic saturation. This is especially true for the woman who has spent years on hormonal birth control. You were told the pill would regulate you, but in reality, it put your natural communication lines into a deep sleep, and it left your cellular receptors busy. So now that you've come off the pill, your body isn't broken. It's just struggling to find the signal through the static. And today I'm going to unpack exactly what it looks like to clear that foundation. We'll discuss why your cells need a clean slate before they can even process the nutrients required for hormone messaging, and why this phase 1 clearance is the non-negotiable first step to moving your system from a silent biological winter into a predictable, fertile spring. To understand why your period is missing, we have to look at the central processing unit of your hormones. It's your liver. Think of your liver as the main sorting facility for every message your body sends. When you were on hormonal birth control, your system was flooded with synthetic signals every single day. Your liver had to work overtime to process and archive those synthetic hormones. And you might even notice that even years after stopping the pill, your sorting facility is still backed up with old mail. Your liver is so busy trying to clear the metabolic residue and the ghosts of those synthetic hormones that it doesn't have the bandwidth to process your natural estrogen and progesterone. This is when you get to a state of not having a period or having very few periods since stopping hormonal birth control. Because when the liver is backed up, your internal environment becomes cloudy. That signaling becomes sluggish and the static gets louder and louder. You aren't lacking hormones. You are lacking the clearance required for those hormones to actually move through the system and trigger a cycle. In phase 1 of the blueprint, I don't just give you a detox. I help you restore the entire integrated drainage system. In a true clinical architecture, we have to look at the 3-tiered drainage path. 1, it's your liver, your sorting facility. 2 is your gut, which is the exit ramp. And 3 are your lymphatics, which is your cellular waste management. So if your liver is trying to clear waste, but your gut is sluggish or your lymphatics are stagnant, that hormonal exhaust, it just recirculates back into your bloodstream. This creates that static we talked about earlier. So what I do is I use a strategic influx of potent antioxidants and specific phase 1 and phase 2 nutrients to act as the cleanup crew for this debris. So you aren't just cleansing, you're providing the high-level cellular tools required to reopen those exit ramps so your body can finally breathe again. We find the location of where that static is coming from, and we lower the static, we clear that static so that the signaling and the communication is clear once again. I want to tell you about a client of mine, and she was living in this exact state of biological silence. We're going to call her Julie, and Julie had been on the pill for 5 years. And when she stopped, she expected her body to just reset, but instead she waited and waited. And nothing happened. She did not get her period back. When she came to me, she hadn't seen a period in 7 months. She was doing everything right, according to her research on the internet. She was taking a prenatal. She was on inositol and CoQ10. She had been to her doctor, and her doctor's only solution for her was metformin. But that didn't sit right for Julie. She felt stuck, fatigued, and was even starting to experience this unexplained joint pain. She was having trouble walking up the stairs in her house. So from my perspective, this is a classic sign of systemic metabolic saturation. So when she started phase 1, I didn't add more fertility supplements for her. In fact, I took away the supplements that she had been on, her prenatal, inositol, and CoQ10. I helped her focus entirely on cellular clearance. And within a few weeks, that static started to clear. Her first sign, it wasn't a period, it was her energy. She started waking up feeling refreshed for the first time in years. And that chronic joint pain, it vanished. She was so surprised when she could walk up the stairs in her house again. And what was happening is because the inflammatory noise, so those were the symptoms that she experienced first. And by clearing that foundation, I helped her prove to her brain that the environment was finally safe. And it was very short after that she got her first natural period in nearly a year. And 28 days forward from that, she got her second. So I didn't fix her ovaries. What I did was help her restore her architecture. And she cleared the static so that her brain could finally have a predictable conversation with her reproductive system. And what she got was a regular, reliable period. So once the exit ramps are open, once the static has cleared, we have to address the empty toolbox because hormones are expensive to make. They require this specific nutrient currency to be built and delivered. And when you have been in years of biological lockdown, that leaves your cells depleted. So in phase 1 of my Fertile PCOS Blueprint, you flood your system with these liver supportive nutrients, not just to clear the old, but to stockpile for the new. So you are giving your body the ink it needs to finally write the message that says it is safe to ovulate. And without this nutrient stockpile, your body might want to start a cycle, but it simply doesn't have the resources to finish the job. So this is why you feel like you're perpetually waiting for a period that never comes. If you were listening to this and you haven't had a period since you came off the pill, or your cycles are 60, 90, maybe 120 days apart, please hear me. Your body is in a state of metabolic saturation. And it is not that your ovaries forgot how to work. It is not that you are broken. It's that the metabolic alarm, it is ringing so loud that your brain has issued this total lockdown. You cannot supplement your way out of a signaling failure. You have to architect your way out. Skipping this phase 1 of the Fertile Clinical Blueprint, it is why most PCOS protocols fail. If you try to force ovulation with medication while your liver is backed up and your drainage pathways are closed, you are just adding more and more noise to the static in a facility that's already overflowing. And I do it differently because the architecture demands it. And because when women clear the static, that's when the results start happening. So once you have these phase 1 and phase 2 support nutrients that are restoring the processing power of your liver, the static, it begins to fade. And what happens is that the hormones that were previously being recirculated, they are now being effectively metabolized. But remember this, you cannot build a high-performance engine if the exhaust pipe is welded shut. You have got to open the pathways first, and you saw that with Julie. She hadn't had a period on her own in 7 months, and once that static was cleared, once her pathways were open, she not only got regular periods back, but she had more energy. Her joint pain went away. She was creating this metabolic foundation for health and for a healthy pregnancy. If you are currently in that frustrating no man's land when you're waiting for a period that's not coming, I want you to consider that your foundation is simply saturated. It's not that you're broken and your body isn't refusing to cooperate. It's just waiting for a clean slate. And so in the Fertile PCOS Clinical Blueprint, the first 30 days of this partnership, it's to de-escalate these metabolic alarms so that your fertility can finally move forward. So as we wrap up today, I want you to remember this. Your body is incredibly intelligent. It has sensed a metabolic alarm and it is prioritizing your safety over reproduction. Time alone, it isn't always the healer. Sometimes we need to clear the backlog, and the right tools need a clear path. In the next episode, we're going to move into phase 2, which is ovarian architecture. And I'm going to dive deep into egg quality and the progesterone connection. And I'm going to show you why, even if a doctor gives you the green light on a medicated cycle, there is still an architectural layer that determines if a pregnancy can actually hold. You don't want to miss that one. So until then, until next week, remember, your body is waiting for a signal of safety. Let's go build it. Thank you for spending this time with me today. If you're tired of the guesswork and ready for a clinical blueprint, it's time to stop researching and start signaling safety to your system. Head over to drangelapotter.com/start to take my PCOS ovulation assessment. In just 2 minutes, you'll identify what's triggering your fertility emergency brakes and get a clear roadmap for your next steps. And if you're ready for a deeper dive, you can book a private PCOS fertility audit right there on the same page. I'm Dr. Angela Potter. Your body is capable, your biology is brilliant, and your future is waiting. I'll see you in the next episode.